Okay, in today's video, we're going to talk about how to answer interview questions. Okay, but in particular, I want to share this concept with you that I call the complexity of simplicity. Okay, see, when it comes to answering interview questions, okay, it can actually be very complex yet very simple. Okay, and in order for you to be effective, you have to be simple, right, or be simplistic. But sometimes that can be a very complex thing to do. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Career Strategies. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%. And if this is your first time to the channel, this channel is all about teaching you strategies that can help you advance your career. So if you're interested in learning things about advancing your career, this is the perfect channel for you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the family. All right. So again, what we're talking about here is how to answer interview questions. And I want to share with you this concept I call the complexity of simplicity. So let's look at it like this. One of the most challenging things for most people to do is to take a somewhat complex idea and simplify it. Okay. And so when you're preparing for an upcoming interview, one of the most challenging things that takes place in the interview process is that you can't really fully prepare for the questions that may be asked of you. Okay. And a lot of times you may have questions that are asked of you that are very, very simple and very easy for you to answer. Sometimes you may have questions asked of you that require a little bit of thought. Okay. But here's the thing. Regardless of whether it's an easy question for you to answer or a more difficult question for you to answer, as a candidate, okay, you got to understand that the job interview process is one of the most unforgiving processes that you'll go through. Okay, and so you have to be able to take complex ideas and be able to simplify them down. Okay, and that can be a very difficult thing to do from time to time. So that's why I always recommend, because of the complexity of simplicity, because there may be a question that's asked of you that's kind of complex for you to answer, you have to prepare ahead of time for, you know, these different types of questions that may come your way, and you have to practice taking complex things and really being able to simplify it. So, you know, one of the things actually where I first thought about this idea of the complexity of simplicity is that for most of my career, I've had to do cold calling. Okay. And for those of you who might not know what cold calling is when you reach out to people that you do not know and you try to establish a business relationship where you can provide something to them and they pay for it. Okay. So it's a form of selling. Okay. But it's really going out into a cold marketplace. I don't know them, they don't know me, and being able to quickly establish a relationship there where they feel comfortable buying from me. Okay, so here's the thing: when I'm cold calling, okay, and I do it to this day, every day pretty much, okay, as an executive recruiter. When I'm cold calling, I know that when somebody picks up a phone, okay, that there are like three main questions that are going to pop up in their mind right off the bat. Number one, who is this? Number two, what do you want? Number three, how long is this going to take? All right. I know those three things are gonna be questions that pop up in their mind when they pick up a phone. And it's going to happen. They're either going to consciously think about it or they're going to think about it on a subconscious level. But regardless, I know that that's the thought process, right? And so what I've had to do over the years is I've had to learn how to take, you know, my product, which a lot of times there can be all kinds of different things that could be a value of the product. And I have to think in terms of how can I simplify this down in a way to where I can, you know, really be able to articulate it to somebody that I do not know in like 30 seconds or less. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When you're answering questions in the interview process, it's not nearly that intense. Okay. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to get caught in a situation when you're interviewing where you're just rambling, right? Where you're just talking and talking and talking and talking. Okay. That's what you don't want to do. Okay. And so you have to start trying to like kind of prepare yourself for taking complex questions and being able to do, answer it in a clear, concise, and compelling manner. So like, as an example, like behavioral interview questions, right? These are the type of questions that typically trip up most candidates. And so when you're getting ready for a behavioral interview question, the first thing you got to understand is that, unfortunately, when you're going through the interview process, it's not like the person that's interviewing you is going to say, all right, now we're about to move into the behavioral interview question part of the interview. Okay, that's not going to happen that way. Okay, so you have to be paying attention to know when these type of questions are coming your way, right? And it typically sounds like this: tell me about a time when, give me an example of, right? When they start saying stuff like that, that's typically giving you a cue that they're going down the path of, talking about a behavioral interview question. And when that happens, okay, you have to really be aware of it. But the best way to approach that is you got to prepare ahead of time. And so what I always like to tell people to do for that type of a complex question is, I want you to think about a complex project that you led through completion, okay, from beginning to end over the last 6 to 12 months, okay? And here's the key pieces. It has to be a project that you led, okay? Nobody wants to hear about stuff that other people got done, okay? They don't want to hear about something where you only just contributed a little bit. They want to hear about a project that you led to completion, right? So if you did great work, but you didn't end up seeing it all the way through to completion, it doesn't matter either, okay? And it can end up making you look bad if the interviewer kind of digs on that, okay? And it needs to be within the last 6 to 12 months, okay? And so the reason for that is because nobody wants to hear about what you did 10 years ago, okay? I mean, it's okay for you to, lightly mention that, but when they're asking you like a behavioral interview question, okay, if you led a team, if the last time you managed someone was 10 years ago and they're about to ask you a management type question now, well, then that experience isn't really relevant. You see what I'm saying? But you want to think about that type of project, because typically if you can think about that project, you can usually draw from that project to answer that kind of complex question. Like if they ask you a question of, give me an example of a time that you and one of your direct reports didn't see eye to eye and it didn't end up working out in the long run. What happened there? Tell me what happened, right? So now if they say that, right, that's one of those type of questions where, it could be a little bit of a complex answer. You see what I'm saying? And so for questions like that, you want to practice thinking about these type of questions in advance before you get into the interview, okay? Because if it comes up in the interview and you have to go off the top of your head, if you haven't thought about it, if you haven't thought about how you might respond to something like that, then what ends up happening is you get caught off guard, and then you got a million different things, a million different data points that you're probably drawing from to try to figure out, okay, what should I say? What should I not say? What's confidential information? You got all these different things that are going through your head, okay? But the best way that you can prepare for complex questions is to prepare in advance, okay? And so I would recommend you go on Google, look up a list of behavioral interview questions, example behavioral interview questions, and you can, start practicing. And matter of fact, what I'll do is in this video, actually underneath this video in the description area, I'll leave a link where you can actually go and find like some behavioral interview questions online. And then that way you can start preparing for those type of questions, right? But the key is that however you answer these questions, okay, you want to do it in a simplistic manner, okay? And I know that it can be complex to do that sometimes, but you got to figure out ways to answer questions in a simplistic way, because you don't want people to get lost in what it is that you're saying. And if you don't prepare and you don't practice simplifying complex answers, or get simple, when people ask you complex questions, if you don't practice, simplifying that complex answer, you'll end up, losing people in the middle of the process. Okay. So hopefully, this has been of some help. Again, the way that you simplify something that's complex is you have to prepare in advance for it. Okay. You got to practice doing it so that if you get asked a question that requires you to give somewhat of a complex answer, you'll be prepared to, just fall in and answer it the best way possible. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this video. Listen, if you did, I want to give you free access to a virtual training platform that I created called Interview Prep University. This is designed to teach you how to exponentially improve your interview skills. So I'm going to literally show you a step-by-step system that you can use to exponentially improve your odds at every phase of the interview process. If that sounds like something you're interested in, go to my website, www.interviewprepuniversity.com, and you can get free access immediately. All right. Listen, hope you enjoyed it. Like this video, comment on this video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can get the notifications, and welcome to the family. All right. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.